Hello everyone, I hope you're having a great day today, and in this video we're going to be ranking the different Flash suits from the live action series and movies. Now obviously throughout the Flash's history in comics, he's had a pretty similar suit over time, well at least if you're talking about the Barry Allen version. It's mostly been red, but you've also had some yellow and white in there. Of course there's always been the lightning bolt. So I'm going to be doing this tier list style, just ranking the different live action suits. But keep in mind this is just my opinion, let me know how you'd rank them in the comments section down below, and without any further ado, let's hop right into the tier list. Alright, so we're going to start off with the original Flash suit from like the 1970s, and I believe this was like the Legends of the Superheroes, like TV special, something like that. And overall, similar to most superheroes' first appearances in live actions, the suits back then were just made out of some cheaper materials. They look more like a Halloween costume. So while it's a fairly comic accurate design, it's really not the best quality, so I'm probably going to put it in the D tier. That brings us to a huge upgrade with the 90s Flash suit. And actually this actor did return for like a Multiverse Crisis on Infinite Earths TV event as well. So this suit actually is made out of some better material, and it does have like some muscle padding in it. I actually do like how his things on the side are a little more metallic. I will say I feel like around the mouth they have too much stuff going on and it's a little distracting, but I'll probably put the suit in the B tier for now. Overall it was very good for the time. That brings us to the other 90s Flash suit. I believe this was from like the TV Justice League movie or something like that, but I actually think while this isn't like the most expensive material stuff is made out of now, it does actually look pretty good, and I kind of like the headpiece, how it's a little bit more detailed around the eyes, so I'll probably put it in the C tier. That brings us to the Flash suit from the Smallville series, and this was supposed to be like a younger version of the Flash. Not really even like an actual suit, so therefore I can't put it very high. I'm going to put it in the D tier. That brings us to the first Flash suit from the CW series, and this was like the training suit. And I gotta be completely honest, it's not that great, which obviously when it comes to beginner training suits for superheroes and that kind of stuff, they're not meant to be that great. Like obviously in the Spider-Man movies, he starts off making a not so great Spider-Man costume and then later improves upon it. So you would expect a suit like this to be bad. It's not a criticism of it. It's just when you compare it to the other suits, it's not going to rank very high. But that brings us to the main suit from like the first season of the CW Flash series, and I'm going to put it in the B tier. Now the reason I don't put it in the A tier is because I actually am not the biggest fan of how the emblem is red instead of white. I actually do kind of see what they were going for, but I actually do prefer the comic accurate design. I typically don't mind when they modify stuff like that slightly, but just in this case I don't think it's actually an improvement, at least when it comes to this character. That brings us to the next suit of the Flash series, which is actually very similar, but this version of the suit has the white emblem, so I'll put that in the A tier. Now there were actually 9 seasons of the Flash, and they kind of modified the suit a little each season, but this tier list that I found doesn't really count all of those modifications as a different suit, I guess. So I think this is actually the season 4 suit, and it is a little hard to tell because these pictures are so small, but I did evaluate the suits from the different seasons, and I think most people would agree that the season 4 suit is the best because it just looks nice and comic accurate, and I do like the leather material. I think it makes sense for the character, and of course that just goes with all the suits in this show. Now that actually brings us to the first DCEU Flash suit, and for some reason I used to really not like this suit. I just thought it looked bad, but as time has gone on, honestly I actually really like it because it feels like something that someone would actually piece together out of these different pieces of stuff, because I mean that's really the best way to describe this suit, and it just feels kind of original and creative while still being comic accurate, of course, and honestly pretty realistic. So I'm gonna put this suit in the A tier, and honestly really looks great when he's running and that kind of stuff in the movie. Now a suit from the nightmare sequences in the Snyder Cut and Batman v Superman, that's a little different. It's actually supposed to be like the same suit, but he has like extra armor on it and it's kind of beaten up and that kind of stuff. So a suit that's meant to look more rough, it's not supposed to look great. I'm going to put that in the C tier. Now that brings us to the season 5 suit, which is honestly pretty infamous because they don't really have anything underneath his chin, and just the way it's colored looks a little bit goofy. So I'm honestly going to put that in the D tier. Now that brings us to the Jay Garrick Flash suit, and it's cool that we actually have this in live action. In the comics, this was the original Flash, so I'm actually going to put this in the B tier. I don't necessarily prefer it to the design of the Barry Allen suit, but this was just done very well. Now, it's a little hard to tell which season this suit was from right here, but let's just say it's from season 9, because that was a season where it was probably modified the most from the previous seasons, because of course you finally had the golden boots. But I will say his headpiece and that stuff doesn't look quite as good as like the season 4 suit, but overall it's pretty good. I'll put that in the S tier as well. Now that brings us to the main suit from the 2023 Flash movie, and I'm very conflicted on this one because a lot of people will just say that this is a terrible suit, but I don't really feel that way. I like the design they were going for, and in a lot of the shots, especially kind of in the dark, it actually looks great, and I like how they had those yellow lenses around his eyes. I just think overall when it comes to this suit, the lighting and a lot of the shots just did it dirty. I think they also added some CGI to it at different points, so that was off at some points, because this is really inconsistent quality wise, because there are some shots where it's more slim and it just looks great, honestly, and other shots where it's just not so much. So I don't hate it, and I actually do like the story behind it. They actually did have a tie-in comic that explains how he got this suit, and of course he has the ring that releases it, so that's really cool. But obviously in a lot of the shots in this movie it doesn't look that great, so I'm just going to put it in the B tier. And finally we have the suit that the 2013 alternate reality Barry made out of the Batman Returns bat suit. And this is another suit that's not supposed to look great because it was supposed to be made out of material that was just available at the time. So I'm not going to put it very high, I'm going to put it in like the D tier. But again, it's not really a criticism of the suit. I actually think it's a pretty fun sequence how he makes the suit out of the Batman Returns suit. And I do really like the joke they made about him turning his neck, because obviously Michael Keaton never could do that with his bat suits. But overall, that is my completed tier list of the live action Flash suits, and I didn't have one of every season from the CW show because they did not have that in this tier list, but overall it was just the main ones that changed the most. But again, let me know how you would rank them in the comments section down below. Which one's your favorite, which one's your least favorite? As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.